going on, guys? STF Gaming here. Today we're going to be looking at the March 2007 Troop Dupe Machine Beatdown deck. This was a very special deck to me because it was the deck I used the whole March 2007 format. I never really liked the Destiny Hero decks back in this format because they were just really clunky. But if you can look at this deck real quick, you'll notice there's a lot of draw monsters like Card Trooper, Cyber Phoenix, Sangin, Dekoichi. These cards really helped make the deck consistent. It also had a lot more traps than most decks. Most decks only ran like 4 traps. I really liked the way this deck functioned. I thought it was the most consistent deck of the format. Some people might not agree. I don't even know if this deck ever won a Shonen Jump back in the day, but it always did well. Pretty sure the first people to start using this deck were like Matt Petal and Philly Luna. I'm not sure who first used it. It was one of them. They like to run D-Mock in this deck. I wasn't a fan. I didn't see the need for the card. I know you can mill it with Trooper and Snipe Hunter, but like I just thought it made the deck slower, so I opted to cut a D-Mock for a machine duplication. Let's get into the deck. I'm going to start it off with 3 Cyber Phoenix. The Cyber Phoenix were really good for this deck. Brain Control was at 3, Snatch Steal was legal. It has some tricky plays with Cyber Phoenix. If your opponent heavy storms or Call the Haunted, you can call the Haunted the Cyber Phoenix. The call will die, and it won't take Cyber Phoenix with it because they call targets. So that was a cool play back in the day. But yeah, Cyber Phoenix was really good just because it's a machine. There weren't too many good machines. Draws you cards. Your opponent can't brain control it or any of your machines as long as it's in attack mode. Yeah. And then Cyber Dragon was really good back in the day. Moving on to Cyber Dragon, of course. It was really good back in the day. It had a lot of attack points. It was run ever since Cybernetic Revolution came out. It was in every deck pretty much. Obviously, it's a machine. It's super important for the deck as it runs like the whole machine fusion monster cards. I'm gonna get those for you in a second. But yeah, it runs over everything except Monarchs. Obviously, Monarchs are really big in this format, but the Cyber Dragon just ran over everything else. And like I said, it's a machine. You can limit removal it. You can get some really aggressive turns where you summon Cyber Dragon, Card Trooper, Machine Dupe, attack for a whole bunch, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, Synchros and XYZ monsters obviously aren't out at the time, or Pendulums or whatever, Link monsters. But these are the fusion monsters you run. You can get these off of your Cyber Dragons. It's the only way you can get them is Cyber Dragons, so obviously it's important. Moving on to Snipe Hunter. Snipe Hunter is really good this format because it's a clunky format, but it's especially good in this deck because you can get your game shots quicker, obviously. I mean, you have Future Overload, obviously, and you got the Ring. So your Snipe Hunter can just help clear the way to get a whole bunch of chip damage in. The deck runs Morphing Jar. Can just refresh your hand when you're running low. You can get some machines into the grave. You can play it a lot of ways. And then next up is Jinzo. It's a machine, and it negates traps. Not too much to say about that. Like I said, there weren't too many traps this format, but just another machine. You can send it with Future Fusion. If it goes to the grave, you can call it, Prima it. With the Cyber Phoenix, it can't be targeted. And then my favorite part of the deck is these 7 cards. Dekoichi is one of my favorite cards of all time. Flip monster, draw a card, 1400 attack. So you could just set it, flip it up, attack for 14, stuff like that. Obviously, you have the troops for the dupes. Mill your deck for your Avarices, your Overload Fusion, your Call, your Prima. They do a whole bunch of damage. And you got the Sangin to search a good portion of the deck. Moving on to your spells, you got quite a few spells in this deck. This is a pretty spell-heavy format in general. Like every deck ran like maybe like 17 spells, 16 spells. It was pretty spell-heavy for the time. You got your really aggressive spells. Everything's pretty aggressive in the spells. So you got the limiter. Obviously, you can just pump up your monsters and get huge game swings. You got the True Nade and Heavy. Again, very aggressive deck. You're going to want these to get your pushes in. 1 Brain Control. Help for aggression. There's not much to tribute. You got your Cyber Dragons and your Jinzo, but it helps with game swings, so that's good. You got the MST. That's really good for a mirror match your Future Fusion, or you want to hit a call, Prima, stuff like that. Some decks opted not to run MST in this time, but definitely a good card for the deck. Avarice. I really like this card because obviously Troop Dupe, you can mill a lot of cards, just get some free draws. But if you ever open Future Fusion and no overload, you could just Future Fusion a whole bunch of machines and then send them right back to draw too. Just cycle through your deck quick. I like to do that back in the day. No Man was good. It just helped for game pushes, helped do damage. So that's what I liked about No Man. You got the Snatch and Prima. These cards are just more aggressive cards. Any card that adds monsters to your board is obviously going to be good. You get the Scapegoat, kind of weird looking card in this deck, don't you think? But it makes sense because these cards are legal and a lot of people ran them, so if someone uses this, they're probably going to go for a game swing that turn, so Scapegoat is just good to make sure that doesn't happen. Then you get the Confiscation. I'm going to pause the spells and go to these guys real quick. So you got Confiscation, 3 Dust Shoot, and the Mind Crush. These cards are really important in this format, and not too many people ran like any of these. I think these cards are super important. It's a very pushy format, you know. You just wait, win in one turn. A lot of decks could do that. So these cards just really helped make it so your opponent couldn't do that. Any card that would discard cards from your opponent's hand is probably more important than a card that can destroy something on the field in this format. Because they're just going to try and push for games. So, I mean, with the Confiscation and 3 Dust Shoots, you're pretty much going to be able to know what to call with Mind Crush. But obviously, if they Heavy Storm or MST or Mind Crush, you could guess for something there's 3 of, like a Card Trooper or a Destiny Draw, something like that. Or even a Cyber Dragon, just whatever you're feeling at the time. And then finally, you got the Double Machine Dupe. If you run Troop this format, you got to run the Dupe. Pretty self-explanatory there. And the Future Overload, these were pretty degenerate in this deck. I mean, you could win turn 1 with the right hand. Obviously, you got like a, Future Overload, Nobleman, Heavy. That's pretty much game. And I drew it sometimes, but yeah, but like if I drew Future Fusion by itself, I would normally just use it right away. Depending on my hand, I'd send 2 Cyber Dragons for a Cyber Twin. Maybe I'd send all my machines to get to my good spells quicker, stuff like that. It's just, Future Fusion was actually a pretty skillful card in the deck, without the overload, obviously. But when you have them together, it's degenerate. And then on to the traps. Yeah, most people just ran these 4 traps in every deck, but I like this deck because it ran a whole bunch more traps. Obviously, these aren't defensive traps, but like I said, removal wasn't as important as just making sure you don't lose, I guess. There weren't any hand traps besides DD Crow, but that wasn't too important at the time, I guess. So yeah, you get the Call. I really like Call in a deck like this because if they destroyed it, you could get Card Trooper or Cyber Phoenix, and you'd either draw from Trooper or search from Sangin, or Cyber Phoenix wouldn't die. Then you get the Torrential and Mirror Force for the removal, and finally you get the Ring. So onto the fusion deck. You just had these guys. You could run like a million fusions back in the day, but these are the main ones. Cyber Twin was really good. Obviously you're not going to get it out that much, but you can Future Fusion for it and it'll come out sometimes. And attack for a lot of damage. I've gotten this out a couple times in my career. The Chimera Tech pretty much lets you send all the machines, and the Cyber End, you need 3 Cyber Dragons, but it pierces. So yeah, guys, that's the machine beatdown deck. I'm going to try and get some duels with this against the next deck I'll be showing, which is a Perfect Circle deck. I'm trying to get some decks duels as soon as I can. No promises, I don't duel too much these days, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like or give suggestions for future videos in the comments down below. And thanks for watching.